Good afternoon and welcome to Pakistan Today News from our London studio. I'm Chris Taylor. We begin with developments surrounding U.S.-Iran diplomacy. U.S. President Donald Trump has hinted at a possible visit to Islamabad if a peace agreement with Iran is finalized there. Speaking to reporters at the White House, President Trump expressed optimism that a deal to end the ongoing conflict is close, claiming Tehran has agreed to almost everything. He added that if the agreement is signed in Islamabad, he may personally attend, saying, "They want me." The U.S. president also suggested that the current ceasefire between Washington and Tehran could be extended, though he indicated it may not be necessary if a deal is reached in time. However, he also claimed, without providing evidence, that Iran has agreed to give up its enriched uranium as part of the proposed agreement aimed at ending its nuclear program. In a related development, President Trump has also announced that Israel and Lebanon are set to begin a 10-day ceasefire within hours. According to him, the temporary truce is intended to ease rising tensions and create space for further diplomatic engagement. The announcement comes amid escalating cross-border hostilities and increasing international calls for de-escalation in the region. The United Nations has welcomed this move. Secretary General Antonio Guterres described the ceasefire as a positive step toward reducing tensions. In a statement posted on X, he praised the United States for facilitating the agreement and expressed hope that the truce would open the door for meaningful negotiations toward a long-term solution. Guterres also urged all parties to fully respect the ceasefire and comply with international law to ensure lasting peace and stability. However, concerns remain over the fragile nature of the truce. The Lebanese armed forces have reported fresh Israeli acts of aggression, calling them violations of the ongoing ceasefire. According to Lebanese officials, these actions risk undermining stability along the border. Authorities have warned that continued violations could derail peace efforts and potentially trigger renewed escalation in the region. Meanwhile, tensions between Washington and Tehran continue to simmer. Iran's chief of armed forces, Amir Hatami, has firmly rejected any possibility of surrender, stating that attempts to force Iran to bow will never succeed. Responding to remarks by the U.S. Defense Secretary, Hatami dismissed claims about the destruction of Iran's Air Force and Navy, asserting that the country's military is stronger and more prepared than ever. At the same time, senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Mohsen Rezaiei, warned that Iran's missile systems are ready to target American warships if necessary. He also cautioned that any attempt to impose a naval blockade on Iran would fail. Turning now to Pakistan's diplomatic engagements, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif attended the Antalya Diplomacy Forum in Turkey, where he presented Pakistan's perspective on key global and regional issues. The visit marks the third leg of his tri-nation tour, following stops in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. During the forum, the Prime Minister emphasized Pakistan's commitment to peace, stability, and diplomatic engagement amid ongoing Middle East tensions. On the sidelines, he also held a key bilateral meeting with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, aimed at further strengthening ties between the two countries. For more on Pakistan's diplomatic efforts, we go to our Islamabad correspondent, Sarah William.
Thank you, Chris. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's participation in the Antalya Diplomacy Forum highlights Pakistan's increasing role in regional diplomacy at a time of heightened global tensions. Officials say the Prime Minister used the platform to advocate for peaceful resolutions and stronger international cooperation, particularly regarding the Middle East crisis. His meeting with President Erdogan is being seen as a step toward deepening strategic and economic ties between Pakistan and Turkey. Meanwhile, policymakers in Islamabad are closely monitoring developments involving Iran and the United States, especially with Pakistan being discussed as a highly probable venue for peace talks. Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Sarah, for that update. In another significant development, Chief of Army Staff Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir has met Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian in Tehran during his official visit, according to Iranian media. During the visit, Field Marshal Munir also held meetings with key Iranian leaders, including Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. He also visited the Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters, where he was received by senior military officials. The visit is part of Pakistan's broader diplomatic efforts to help transform the ongoing ceasefire between Iran and the United States into a lasting peace agreement. Field Marshal Munir was accompanied by Interior Minister Mohsen Naqvi and a high-level delegation, underlining the importance Islamabad places on regional stability and dialogue. That's all for now. You're watching Pakistan Today News. I'm Chris Taylor.